All right, so anyone who watched that Arsenal-Ipswich match, you're here for the deep dive. Arsenal 1-0 the Emirates. You'd think they'd cruise, against a team fighting relegation.
Yeah.
But it was anything but a walk in the park.
It's really interesting how this win actually is as tight as it was. It shows a lot about, where Arsenal is in the title race. They weren't at their best, but they got the result. I think that mental toughness, that ability to win ugly, sometimes that can be a huge factor. I mean, think back to Leicester's title run. It wasn't always pretty, but they found ways to win. Yeah,
and for sure. And let's rewind to the Emirates then. Arsenal title contenders hosting Ipswich.
Yeah.
Who are, desperate to avoid the drops.
Yeah.
1-0 final score. But it doesn't tell the whole story. What for you made this such a tough match for Arsenal?
I think, honestly, their defense was just a masterclass in organization and discipline. Arsenal dominated possession. They had something like 83.5% in the first half. But Ipswich's backline, they were like a wall, constantly shifting, closing down space, forcing Arsenal into these, low percentage shots.
Yeah, it felt like every time Arsenal got close, there was just a sea of blue shirts in the box. Well, they did have their chances. I mean, Declan Rice nearly scored from distance. And then there's that Gabriel Jesus moment.
Oh, yeah, the VAR offside call. Classic Premier League drama. He put the ball in the net, but it was razor thin and ultimately ruled out. And those are the moments, that can really swing a match. And, it felt like maybe luck wasn't on Arsenal's side.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So walk me through that goal then, the one that finally broke Ipswich.
Well, it's interesting because the goal actually highlights how Arteta's adapting to all these injuries. He's forced to play Martinelli on the right, which isn't his natural position. But notice how on the goal, Martinelli, he kind of grifts inside, almost like a second striker. And that creates space for Trossard out wide. And Trossard whips in this perfect cross. And Havertz shows his poacher's instinct, taps it in.
Okay, so not just a pretty goal, but a tactical wrinkle. A tactical wrinkle by Arteta there. And you mentioned injuries. And, it's no secret that Arsenal's squad is stretched thin, missing guys like Saka, White, Tomiyasu, even Sterling.
Yeah.
Did you see specific instances where those absences really impacted Arsenal's play?
Absolutely. Take their right back position, for example. Tomiyasu's out, White's out.
Yeah.
So Arteta's had to kind of improvise. Cedric played there. And while he's, a solid defender, he doesn't offer the same attacking threat as Tomiyasu or White.
Yeah.
And I think that lack of width on that right side was noticeable, especially in the first half. They struggled to really stretch Ipswich's defense, which allowed Ipswich to stay compact and organized.
It makes sense. You're basically playing a man down in attack if your fullback isn't contributing going forward.
Yeah.
But Ipswich, they came out swinging in the second half. Liam Delap was causing all sorts of problems for Arsenal's defense.
Yeah, Delap's performance really underlined Ipswich's resilience. They could have easily folded after going down a goal, but they came out with real purpose and energy in that second half. And Delap's, his physicality, his direct running gave Saliba and Gabriel a real test. I mean, remember that chance where he just shrugged off Gabriel, nearly got a shot off? That's the kind of fight they showed all match. Yeah, it was a real gut check moment for Arsenal. They'd been in control for most of the match, and suddenly Ipswich are looking dangerous, and the momentum has shifted.
Yeah, it felt like every Arsenal fan in the Emirates was holding their breath. Like, do they weather the storm, or does Ipswich pull off the unthinkable?
And this is where I think you saw Arsenal's experience their championship mentality. They didn't panic, they absorbed the pressure, kept their shape, and then gradually regained control of the game.
Yeah, you could almost sense like this collective sigh of relief when that final whistle blew.
Absolutely. It wasn't, a vintage Arsenal performance, but they found a way to win. And that's a sign of a true contender. They're not going to blow everyone away every week, but they're showing the grit, the determination needed to stay in this title race.
Okay. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Say, I'm a Liverpool fan, feeling pretty confident right now.
Yeah.
Convince me why these injuries might not derail Arsenal's title hopes.
Okay, you bring up a great point. Look, if this were any other team, I'd probably say the injuries would be a death knell to their title aspirations. But Arsenal, they have this incredible depth of talent, especially in attack, even without Saka, Sterling. Jesus, you still have players like Martinelli and Katai Smith-Rowe who can step up and make a difference.
Right, and it almost feels like Arteta has built a system where even with these key players missing, the next guy up could just slot in, and they maintain that high level of play.
Exactly, and I think that speaks volumes about Arteta's coaching, the culture that he's created at Arsenal. Everyone understands their role. Everyone's ready to contribute. And there's a real sense of collective belief within that squad.
So even though these injuries are a setback,
they
might not be that, fatal blow that some people are predicting, especially if Arteta continues to, make these tactical tweaks like we saw with Martinelli.
Right. And let's not forget the psychological impact of this win as well. They were under pressure. They were missing key players. They were facing a resilient opponent. And yet they found a way to win. And I think that can do wonders for a team's confidence and belief.
Yeah. It's almost like surviving a test of fire. They come out the other side stronger and more united.
Precisely. And that can be such a powerful motivator as they head into, the second half of the season.
But let's circle back to Ipswich for a moment, because their performance was really impressive. They came to the Emirates with a clear game plan, and they executed it brilliantly. They frustrated Arsenal for long stretches and even had their moments going forward.
They really did. And that's a credit to Kieran McKenna and the job he's doing at Ipswich. They might be near the bottom of the table, but they're playing with organization discipline belief. I mean, remember that chance in the second half where Delap nearly got on the end of a cross? They weren't just parking the bus, they were looking to create opportunities.
Yeah, it almost felt like they had a point to prove, like, hey, we might be, fighting relegation, but we're not going to roll over for anyone, not even the mighty Arsenal.
And that's the beauty of the Premier League, right? On any given day, any team can beat any other team. There are no easy matches. And Ipswich showed that against Arsenal.
Yeah, and that's what makes the Premier League so captivating. It's like this match, it felt like a microcosm of Arsenal's season so far, right?
Yeah.
Like flashes of brilliance, but also moments of adversity and insects and a lot of grinding out results.
Yeah, it's been a real test of their mettle for sure. And they're passing, even if it's not always pretty. This Ipswich match, I think, was a classic example of what separates the contenders from the pretenders. It's not just about talent. It's about that unwavering determination to find a way, even when things aren't going your way.
And so much of this season for Arsenal has felt like that, right?
Just
finding ways to win, even when the odds are
absolutely
stacked against them. They've had to adapt to injuries, to tactical shifts, to opponents who are clearly, studying their every move.
I mean, think about the evolution of Martinelli this season. He starts as their main man on the left, cutting and scoring goals. Then injuries hit. He's forced over to the right. Initially, he looks a bit lost. But then you see Arteta working with him, tweaking the system. And now he's creating goals from that side. It's almost like he's become a more complete player because of it.
You know what? That's a great point. This adversity, as tough as it's been, it might actually be beneficial. For Arsenal in the long run, right?
Right.
It's forcing their players to adapt, to evolve, to become more versatile. And who knows, maybe that makes them even more dangerous come, the business end of the season.
Absolutely. They're not relying on, one or two star players anymore. They're becoming a team where anyone can step up and make a difference. And it's that depth, that collective resilience, that could be their secret weapon.
Okay, so as we look ahead, what's your big takeaway from this Arsenal-Ipswich match? What should our listener be paying attention to as this Premier League drama continues to unfold?
I think keep an eye on how Arteta continues to manage this injury crisis. Can he keep finding ways to plug the gaps to get the best out of his available players? And I'd also say pay attention to the mental side of things. Can Arsenal maintain this level of intensity, this fight, this refusal to give up when the pressure really ramps up?
Because the Premier League title race.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And it's in those final weeks, when fatigue sets in, when every point is crucial, that you really see the true character of a team.
All right, so for all you Arsenal fans out there, buckle up. This season is far from over. There will be twists, there will be turns, but this team has shown that they have what it takes to compete.
And even if you're not an Arsenal fan, this is a team worth watching. They're playing an exciting brand of football. They're showing incredible resilience, and they're defying expectations. What more could you ask for?
Could have said it better myself. So there you have it. Arsenal grind out a win against a stubborn Ipswich side. A victory that tells us as much about their character as it does about their title aspirations. We broke down the key moments, the tactical nuances, and the broader implications of this result. Now it's up to you to connect the dots and see where this Arsenal story goes. We'll be back soon to deep dive into another fascinating Premier League clash. Until then, keep the passion for the beautiful game burning bright